Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Marina Grosu from Washington, D.C. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Pope Francis reiterated his call for the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas and the passage of humanitarian aid into Gaza during the general audience in St. Peter's Square on Wednesday. The Holy Father said he would keep praying for peace in the Middle East, Ukraine, and other regions wounded by war. He encouraged the faithful to observe a day of prayer, fasting, and penance for world peace on Friday, October 27th. Meanwhile, world leaders have expressed their intention to stop the Israel-Hamas conflict from escalating. They called for an immediate ceasefire to provide humanitarian relief to trapped Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Cardinal Pierbattista Pizzaballa, reassured the people of Gaza that they were not alone in these difficult times and exhorted them not to lose heart, but to remember that the Lord was with them. Between 16 to 20 people were killed and dozens were injured in multiple shootings in the U.S. state of Maine on Wednesday night. The suspect, Robert Card, remains at large despite having been identified. The shootings happened at several different sites in Lewiston, Maine, which is the state's second most populous city. Authorities are still awaiting confirmation of the death toll. The Shemenji's Bar and Grill restaurant on Lincoln Street and a bowling alley called Spare Time Recreation on Mollison Way were both targeted by the shooter. The military-trained firearms instructor was recently admitted to a mental health hospital. Police said that the gunman is still at large and announced on social media for the public to be cautious. The Holy See Press Office has issued a letter to the people of God approved by the participants of the Synod of Synodality on Wednesday. The Synod will conclude on Sunday, October 29th at the Vatican. The letter of the 16th Ordinary General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops to the people of God was prepared by the commission in charge of drafting the synthesis report of the Synod. This document will be put to vote and published on Saturday. President of the Commission for Information of the Synod, Paolo Ruffini, said the letter aims to tell the faithful about the experience of the members of the Synod, as well as bishops gathered in Rome. The letter also explained the reciprocal exchanges between the churches of the Latin tradition and the Eastern traditions, as well as with other ecclesial communities. The U.S. House of Representatives has elected Republican Mike Johnson from Louisiana as its Speaker. He was elected as the 56th Speaker of the House in a 220 to 209 vote on Wednesday afternoon. House Republicans overwhelmingly voted in support of Johnson following nearly 3 weeks of turmoil due to the ouster of former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Johnson is the fourth Republican to be nominated for the role. He is most recognized for being the architect of an unsuccessful Supreme Court appeal filed by 126 House Republicans in an attempt to have the 2020 election results overturned. A devout Christian, Johnson expressed his conviction that God bestows all authority and reminded that those in positions of power are responsible to the people they oversee. Students at the University of Notre Dame in the U.S. state of Indiana have raised concerns over an upcoming drag show that is set to take place on campus. Female students are decrying the university's intention to promote this ideology as part of a one-credit course and a part of academics. According to a letter to the editor published in the Observer student newspaper on October 24th, 2 senior students objected to the planned show on behalf of others. Seniors Madeline Stout and Merlot Fogarty objected to the planned November 3rd show, which is scheduled to follow a symposium on efforts to ban drag shows. Through the email, the students expressed their concerns that the university funding would be used to pay drag performers to visit Notre Dame, dress like women, defile femininity, and promote a disordered ideology. As a show of support for persecuted Christians, the global pontifical organization Aid to the Church in Need, also known as ACN, has requested that churches and public buildings across the world be illuminated in red on November 22nd as part of the annual Red Wednesday commemoration. This year's Red Wednesday coincides with the Protestant Day of Confession and Prayer. Since this is such an important day for Christians all around the world, ACN suggests ecumenical acts as a way to show solidarity. Every year, scores of churches, cathedrals, and other important buildings are illuminated in red as part of Red Wednesday to show support for Christians who are suffering persecutions around the world. To mark the 25th anniversary of the International Religious Freedom Act, U.S. Bishops' Committee on International Justice and Peace has issued a statement outlining the history of the act. The Commission Chairman, Bishop David Malloy of Rockford, and Chairman of the Committee for Religious Liberty, Cardinal Timothy Dolan of New York, said in the statement that governments must protect the rights and safeguard the religious freedom of all citizens. Further, the prelates lamented that 80% of the world's population lives in nations with high levels of governmental or social limitations on religion. They also said in the statement that these curbs have been gradually rising over the last several years. More than 100 pro-life politicians from America, Europe, and Asia are calling for a rally to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR, in New York on November 16th and 17th. The UDHR is an international document adopted by the United Nations General Assembly that enshrines the rights and freedoms of all human beings. The document commits nations to recognize all humans as being born free and equal in dignity and rights, regardless of nationality, religion, language, or any other status. The 2023 Transatlantic Summit is being hosted by the Political Network for Values and has as its theme affirming universal rights, uniting cultures for life, family, and freedoms. Speakers include actor and producer Eduardo Verástegui, who is a potential Mexican presidential candidate, Nady Casillas of Global Center for Human Rights, Lila Rose of Live Action, and Valerie Huber of the Geneva Consensus Declaration are the other speakers. The Office of Suffolk County Attorney Kevin Hayden in New York said on Wednesday that a 37-year-old man has been charged with vandalizing a crucifix at Boston's Cathedral of the Holy Cross. Michael Patzold of Attleboro has been charged with assault and criminal mischief after being taken into custody. Meanwhile, Judge Paul Tressler issued an order prohibiting him from having any further contact with the church or any of the case's witnesses. The Vatican's Dicastery for the Causes of Saints has authorized the opening of the cause of beatification of believers who were martyred by Hindu nationalists in India's Kanhamal in 2008. The cause of lay catechist Kanteshwar Digal and his 34 companions was formally opened, and they were given the title of Servants of God. Apostolic Nuncio Archbishop Leopoldo Guerrelli brought a letter to the Archdiocese of Cuttack, Bhubaneswar in the state of Odisha, which includes Kandhamal. The letter officially announces that the dicastery has issued the nihil obstat for the process of beatification of the 35 martyrs. The Archdiocese will now begin the canonical process by collecting witness statements to be vetted by the Dicastery for the Causes of Saints. In 2008, Hindu nationalists attacked Christian villages and torched churches, homes, and agricultural land, forcing believers to seek refuge in the forest. Catechist Digal was 53 when he was killed by the violent mob. A longtime friend of Pope St. John Paul II and a pro-life champion at the age of 101, Polish national Wanda Pava passed away on October 25th. She was a specialist in psychiatry and a professor at the Pontifical Academy of Theology. Born in Lublin in 1921, she was a devout Catholic throughout her life. During World War II, Poltavska was involved in the Polish resistance movement and was arrested by the Gestapo and imprisoned in the Ravensbrück concentration camp. There, the Nazis used her as a human guinea pig. After the war, she studied medicine and became a psychiatrist. Over time, she developed a close friendship with Karol Wojtyła, who was later elected as Pope John Paul II. She headed the Institute of Family Theology at the Pontifical Academy of Theology in Krakow for 33 years since its launch in 1967. In 2016, she was awarded the Order of the White Eagle for her contributions to the country. May she rest in peace. And those are your latest headlines. Join us again tomorrow for more. You can also visit us at swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.